Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the incredibly popular analog horror. If you don't know what analog horror is, it is a sub-series of found footage, kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos. Typically, it would be low-fidelity graphics and visual styles reminiscent of late 20th century television and analog recordings. So since this is a sub-series of, found footage, you'll typically think of like, Blair Witch Project. That's a pretty popular one. Although from what I've seen, it isn't classified as analog horror. Don't know why. I guess it just didn't make the cut. Kind of makes sense when you see it because it isn't really horror. It's mostly the only really scary thing about it is the fact that if you're 18 and you watch it, you're gonna be 21 and be able to drink by the time you finish it. So a couple of examples of analog horror. If you don't know, Mandela Catalog, No Through Road, and Local 58. All of these being pretty popular examples of analog horror. From what I've seen, CHSS is the first analog horror series ever made. But I also seen things saying that No Through Road is the first, so I don't know, it could be either of those two. So don't take my word for it. Just know that it may or may not be CHSS, and it could be No Through Road. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let me talk about some personal things with analog horror. So the first time I actually was introduced to analog horror was through an FNF mod. I know, cringe. It was the Intruder song. I don't think the Intruder song was that bad because I do like the FNF song. I don't like the Community though, so I might make a video of that later, maybe next week. Who knows? But I was watching this mod and it was Intruder, and I thought the song was pretty good. So after that, I noticed that it had Mandela Catalog mod, and I was like, "Ooh, what's Mandela Catalog?" And I looked it up, and I don't think I was scared. I probably was. I probably pissed my pants. Like I probably pissed 50 gallons. Probably was sweating pounds off me, but whatever. That or I just wasn't scared. But I have watched it again, and it's pretty interesting. I actually showed my parents Mandela Catalog, and my mother had no idea what she was watching. I don't think she really liked it that much. I showed her Volume 1. I don't know. I think Volume 2 is just the best Mandela Catalog one in terms of video. I like Adam and Jonah's interactions. I think it's funny. But talk about some other stuff. I don't think I've ever. Okay, I'll say. Okay, I might have seen Local 58. I don't exactly know what it is. I do remember. I've probably seen a lot of analog horror. I just don't remember a lot of its names. I do know the Walton Files. The Walton Files. It's kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. It's like, oh, spooky ass. It was either burgers or it was pizza. No, yeah, it was burgers. It was like Walton's Burgers or some shit. It's like spooky ass burger place, haunted animatronics, kill people, shit like that. Now, if you notice anything about analog horror, typically you'll have, I guess you could call them analog horror eyes. You know what I'm talking about. I'll put an image up. Editor put an image up. So with that, also, I just want to say, the first time I actually really seen analog horror, to like a point where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is shit or ass, was, these of my sister, actually. So, was it? I think it was. Hold up, because I'm trying to remember this. Because my sister, this is the same sister I've had who showed me the Back Rooms, which is also has an analog horror series. I mentioned that in Liminal Spaces. Liminal Spaces Part 2. Go check that out. I like the video. I made it with my friend. It's like 13 minutes. Not too long, not too short. Pretty sure you'll enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. Anyways. Fuck. So, either my sister showed me or I saw myself. I'm really interested in the Mandela Catalog because I think it's an interesting concept where it's like these demons try to kill people, da 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 da. Basic. Okay, I'll just give you a basic summary of Mandela catalog. These creatures called alternates decide, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we just started doing a little bit of trolling on people? So they just start killing people, and Mandela catalog takes place in Mandela County. Go figure. And it's about the county's encounters with alternates, which is actually what they're called. They're called encounters. So you encounter an alternate. You have to follow a think principle. Think principle is this. It's a fucking principle. It's an acronym. Just tell an authority figure about your encounter. H is hinder the alternate's movements, basically like lock your doors. I is identify the class type. N is neutralize the alternate if safe to do so. Then K, which is when it starts getting weird. We start noticing that alternates have a massive control over the timeline. I guess we can call it the timeline, dimension, whatever. The time space, and we get to see them changing it in real time. K, first thing, kill yourself. There's not enough room for the two of us. Then to say, know your place in reality. So, from what we can see with the Mandela catalog, it's a pretty sad tale about a county that is, well, being eradicated by these strange beings. There is numerous victims displayed out through the series. We got victim 1 being Mark Heathcliff, victim 2 being Cesar Torres, victim 3 and 4 being, I think, Jonah Marshall. And no, it was Adam Murray first, then Jonah Marshall. Then after that, we get a couple other people. I forgot their names. I know they were officers from Mandela County. That was in Volume 3. In Volume 3, we get to see some new things with Mandela County, including some new insights on this creature called Stanley. Stanley is this, I guess, father of all alternates. He displays himself as a black screen, and you'll have white outlines to represent eyes and a mouth. Now, the thing about Stanley is, supposedly from some of the videos I've seen, people theorize that he is using children's imaginations in order to make alternates, which in volume, I want to say volume 3 or 4, yeah, definitely volume 3. Volume 3, we get to see an encounter with Adam Murray's, victim 3. We get to see his father and mother. We get to see some insight on it. Now, the important thing to realize when it comes to this, Adam's mother killed, from what I know, this is what I know, Adam's mother killed herself in Volume 1 with the whole distraught at the side. She was the mother when the distraught at the sight of her missing child, the mother hanged herself. So from what I've seen, from what I've heard, that's Adam's mother. And then Adam's father, which they are divorced, yeah, end up, he gets killed by an alternate who Adam created. From what I can speculate from what this means. When it comes to the Walden Files, I'm not too sure. I've seen some clips of it, and it seems to be a relatively creepy analog horror series. But you also gotta remember that there are just some one-shots of analog horror. It doesn't necessarily have to be a entire series. It can just be spooky thing, like one spot, like kind of like those Hulu contests they do every Halloween, where it's like The Hug. That was I think like 2018, 2019. Jesus Christ! It's a 30-minute short horror story about this not real restaurant, but this restaurant that had real characters. Those characters really did exist. Those events were fake, but it's just interesting to see a real character be used such a not horrendous, but horrifying manner. The thing about analog horror is it's different from typical horror. It's not like Five Nights at Freddy's, which even though that kind of does, have that grainy texture, you know, it is taking place in like a certain time that was a while back. It doesn't necessarily qualify as analog horror, because analog horror doesn't fall around jump scares, gore, blood. It's mostly about making the viewer distraught, building strong feelings of anxiety or dread. It really gets into your head and especially makes you feel. Okay, so here's an example. There's this game on Roblox called The Intruder. It's a really fun game I play with my friends. Something my friends noticed, and I did too, is that there's not really jump scares in the game. Sure, there are like some small things where it's like the intruder took somebody, but when it all comes down, there's no real jump scares. The thing the game uses is sound horror, which is just what I don't know if that's the actual name for it. There probably is a different name, but sound horror is just what we're going to go to. Sound horror is when you use sound cues to terrorize people. So in the game, you'll hear murmurs, you'll hear like laughs, what sounds like you'll hear talking that you can never quite understand, but you can hear it. Stuff like that to make you get on edge. In the game, you have to listen for knocking at the door. You have to listen for crawling in the vents. All of these can kill you. The reason why those murmurs are so important is those murmurs will distract you from the main things you need to think about. They'll overlap, and then you will second guess. If you hear a sound, you're like, oh no, that's probably the murmurs. Then you'll die. Typically, this is how I've died a lot, actually. I've learned to knife and second guess myself, and if I think I hear crawling, if I think I hear knocking, I do what I have to do. I turn off the lights, go into the closet. So there's some times where I've waited like 10 seconds expecting to hear a vent open or expecting to hear a door open, and only just to realize that it wasn't what I thought. Sometimes I was right, just off on timing, and I'll like wait in there for like 5 seconds, like, okay, maybe I should get out now. And then like right when I'm about to open up the closet, boom, I hear something open up, and like, okay, maybe I wasn't wrong. But the thing about that game is it doesn't really rely on necessarily jump scares as it does with sound and visually. Visually in the game, it's cool. I really like this concept. If you're playing with your friends, the entity, I don't know if it does a single, but the entity will actually take form of your friends or even yourself at sometimes, and it will actually like say things in chat. It has like a list of dialogue it can say. It'll take your shape. Generally speaking, this is kind of creepy. It caught me off guard the first time I saw it, and I actually let out. I don't think it was a scream of like. I don't think it was like not unless it was a scream. I don't think it was something of fear, but rather like just being caught off guard. So just keep that in mind. It's a really fun game. I'd recommend you play it. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about analog horror. But the reason why I mention that is it gives me feelings, especially when you're talking about like the first encounter and everything. Those little sub mini games, I guess, are really interesting because they do look a lot like analog horror. It's also inspired by Mandela Catalogue, so it does lay off roots of analog horror. So I wouldn't be surprised if people classify it as such. So yeah, I feel like yeah, 15 minutes, Jesus. I feel like that wraps up this video. Good enough. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. If you guys want to like and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Hope you guys enjoy your evening. And with that, goodbye.